One of the hardest things that us humans go through in life is heartbreak. Dil tootna. You are not just mourning the loss of a person, but of the relationship you had with them, of the future you imagined with them. And while in the movies they will show you how heartbreak happens and what the aftermath is, nobody really tells us how to deal with it, how to heal from it, how to get out on the other side when you feel like your world is crumbling around you. In all honesty, there is no one way to deal with heartbreak because everyone experiences it differently. The underlying emotions might be the same. There's a lot of grief, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of self-doubt, but it manifests in different ways. So in this video, I am going to share the process that I have sort of built after going through numerous friendship and romantic heartbreaks that helped me accept, heal, and eventually move on from that person or relationship. And hopefully they give you some hope and help in the process. Now, from what I've understood and what my healing process has been like, there are 4 stages to heartbreak. Ending a relationship is often super messy, not because it might have been a messy breakup or you might have fought or argued or things like that, but just because of the emotions involved. Human beings are rarely rational creatures, and especially when it comes to heartbreak, we are not rational at all. Which is why even though somebody might have left our life, somebody might have gone out of our life, the feelings we had for them still linger on, and that is why breaking off our attachment to them becomes messier. We want to go back to them, we want them to come back to us, and this whole process goes back and forth again and again till eventually time heals all wounds. But I'm not just going to sit and tell you to wait for grandfather time to do its magic. What we personally need to do in this clean break stage, especially if you are going through a breakup right now, is to not leave things ambiguous. Cut it off. It's going to seem impossible initially, which is why having a process in place helps. A few things that you can do to avoid backsliding, to avoid keep going back to that person who has hurt you so many times or who does not want to be with you. Here are a few things you can do, right? One is block them. This sounds super simple, super easy. A lot of people too tend to do it. A lot of times people don't tend to do it. They think they can be friends with this person. They think they can have this person in their life even if that particular relationship doesn't exist. And while that might happen eventually, it does not have to happen right now. So go ahead, block them. Your peace of mind is more important than the ambiguity of whether somebody is going to stay in your life, right? Distance helps you heal, and it helps you heal faster. So blocking them will just let you do this process a lot quicker. You will come out on the other side a lot quicker. Out of sight, out of mind. Even psychology agrees that distance can help us process emotions better and think more clearly. So give it a try and then make a judgment for yourself. Another thing you can do is not stalk their social media, obviously. If you block them, this temptation reduces as well. And because they are not the only constant thought in your mind, it then again becomes easier to move on. If you continuously keep checking up on that ex, on that friend who ghosted you, or on that friend who ruined your friendship, you are going to constantly have that relationship, your experiences with them in the front of your mind. It's never going to take a back seat, and that is going to make it so much more harder to move on from this thing. So no scrolling through posts, their stories, not going and asking your friends to check up on them, not taking updates from your common friends. Don't do those things. It will initially seem hard, but if you give yourself an ultimatum, it often becomes easier than you think. Another thing that should be a part of your clean break is to not look at you guys' photos together. When people usually break up, they will have their gallery wall filled with their boyfriends or their girlfriends' pictures, or their friend if they've had a friendship breakup. Often you want to reminisce, you want to live in this feeling of nostalgia, you want to look back on the good times, and there will come a time when you can do that without feeling like somebody is ripping your heart out of your chest. Right now is not that time. By right now, I mean right after you've had this breakup, right after you've had your heart broken, is not the time to go on a nostalgic journey back in time. So stop looking at photos of yourselves, you're all together. I always go ahead and delete all of our photos together. In the past, anything that has happened, I've always gone back and deleted these photos. And that kind of just puts it out of sight, out of mind. I'm never even tempted to go back and check on them because I just deleted them. Now, while that might be a little bit extreme for a lot of people, what you can do is you can archive those photos, or you can put them in a separate folder that you can just lock on your phone that you can't access without a password, things like that, that make it more difficult to access those memories together, and that just makes it easier for you to have a cleaner break. Just make sure that when you're doing any of these things, you're not operating from a place of anger, but you're operating from a place of self-love. You deserve the best in the world. You deserve to have a relationship. You deserve to have friendships in your life that value you, that you value, that enrich your lives. And if this relationship has gone out, or if this particular relationship has not worked out, there is a reason for that. So instead of being in a fit of rage and blocking them and then unblocking them and deleting their photos and then recovering those photos, calm yourself down. Remind yourself that you are your number one priority, and then take these decisions, because then you will not want to backslide. You will want to have a clean break, because then you'll realize that it's your peace of mind that's more important than the memories or the experiences that you guys shared together, right? Very important. Operate from a place of self-love. Now, one of the most helpful things when you are in the middle of heartbreak, when you're in the middle of all of these emotions, the best way I have found to release these pent-up emotions is to actually write a letter to this person who broke your heart and express everything that you want to express. Say everything that you want to say, whether it's good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, write everything down in a letter. And then you are going to burn it. We don't want to send this person. It's a venting exercise for us, but it helps us process our emotions so much better, especially in the heat of the moment. So if you're struggling with feeling love for yourself, if you're struggling with feeling like you deserve better relationships in your life, this exercise will really, really help you get there. This process basically creates this physical act of letting go. And actually, on multiple occasions, it's proven to help clear your mind. So if you are in the middle of something like this, consider doing this. In your clean break phase, what you are looking for is distance from this person and closure. And true closure can only come from within you. But all of these exercises that you do actually help create that sense of closure from within you. When you go through heartbreak, or when you go through a process where this person has left your life, you feel a void because so much of your time and your energy was being occupied by this person. It wasn't necessarily because they were adding to your life. It wasn't necessarily because they were the best person for you, but more because a lot of your time and your energy was going towards them. That is why you must have seen that after you get out of a relationship, there's this small phase immediately after where you tend to feel this sense of relief. And that's because for the first time in however much long, you are getting full access to your energy. It's not being divided with another person. And that is the very reason, that division of energy is the very reason that it can also feel like after heartbreak that your life is empty, that it's devoid of any meaning, that's devoid of feeling, because now you have all of this energy back, but you don't really know what to do with it. So in this case, what you're experiencing is not emptiness or not void, but just a lack of clarity and purpose of what to do with this energy. So what really helps during this time is to recenter and focus on your own needs. What are the things that you have been wanting to do for a really long time, but you were not able to when you were with this person or when you were spending time with this person? Go on solo dates, take yourself out, do the things that make you feel fulfilled. Go to your favorite cafe, do an activity that you weren't able to do with them. Go alone to the movies. All of these things will help you recenter and figure out what it is that you really want to do in your life. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And often when heartbreak takes place, and after you've poured so much of your energy into this other person, it takes time to refill your cup as well. And you want to do that before you try and make any other decision. And while you're doing this, while you're doing things by yourself, also self-reflect and journal. I have found that your most intense moments of clarity often come after your darkest periods. And for a lot of people, heartbreak is amongst the darkest periods of their life, right? So when you journal, when you reflect on your day, when you start reflecting on your emotions, it helps you understand what you want out of life. What was it in that previous relationship that wasn't working? What is it that you need going forward? And those are very important things for you to figure out before you take the plunge again, before you get into another intense relationship or another, hardcore friendship. It gives you time to think about what you want from life. Often after someone's heart has been broken, they will just wallow in self-pity, right? They will just have a self-pity party and they'll be unable to figure out what the real reason was and what they actually want out of life. Self-reflection can really put an end to those kind of feelings. Another thing you want to consider doing, especially during this time, especially during the time when you're trying to fill your own cup, is to practice gratitude for the things you still love and still have in life. Feeling low after heartbreak is like a pretty standard thing, right? It's pretty normal. But it gets problematic when you're not able to get out of those phases of feeling low, when you're constantly feeling like your life has come to an end, right? These are the times when you need to make that little bit of extra effort and look for things in your life that you're actually grateful for. I like to do a gratitude practice every single day, but it is especially helpful when you're going through hard times. So sit down in a calm space with uplifting music and just try and list out 5, 7, 10 things in your life right now that you're grateful for. You might have an amazing support system around you. You might have friends who really, really love you. You might have a career that is thriving. You might have yourself to depend on. You might be very, very strong to get out of a toxic relationship, and that's something to be really grateful for. You might have a roof on your head. You might have food on your table. Even these are minuscule things that not everybody has. And if you do, I think being grateful for them is a great place to start. Loving and losing someone cannot be the end of your world. Life gives you love in various forms, and the love you are feeling right now is just a tiny fraction of it. So focus on what you still have instead of the things that you don't. Spend time with people who make you feel whole. This external support can come in so handy. It can be so useful when you are going through a period in your life like this. Yes, you can heal on your own, but if you have the right people around you, they just speed up that process, which is why even in movies when people break up, it's their friends who help them through the process. Surround yourself with people who make you feel better about yourself so that when you have those dark periods, when you are wallowing in self-pity, there's somebody there to help pick you up. And while you're doing all of these things, remember to be gentle with yourself. Heartbreak comes with a lot of self-loathing emotion, right? You start to blame yourself, you start to pity yourself, you start to feel guilty, you start to feel angry at your own self, thinking that if there is this thing that I would have done differently, maybe this is not the outcome I would have had. But we keep forgetting that being hard on yourself is only making things worse. Negative emotions will never let you reach a space where you feel good about yourself, right? To reach there, you have to start with a net positive emotion. So start practicing self-compassion. Remind yourself constantly that whatever happened was in your best interest. It was time for that relationship or that friendship to end. It was not because of you. It's because the universe, life had a different plan for you. And whatever that plan is, it's probably better than this one. Stop becoming your own worst critic and give yourself the grace to move forward in life. So once you have sort of had that clean break and you have started to fill your own cup, you also need to focus on feeling all of the feelings that you have, on grieving the loss of someone who is still alive and the loss of a life you once envisioned with them. I know it's a huge thing for your mind to process. So give yourself time and remember that all of these phases that I'm talking about, they're not linear, right? So it's not like you have your clean break and then you do your self-love thing and then you process your loss. It doesn't happen like this. It usually goes in a khichdi like this. You will have periods of self-love and then suddenly you'll have periods of self-anxiety. So the processes that I'm giving you in this video are just like a guideline to have in the back of your mind whenever you are going through a low phase, so that you can remember that this is something I can do right now to just feel better, to become better, to heal myself faster. Okay? So how can you process the loss of a relationship better. One, find an outlet for your feelings, right? Talking to friends, maybe joining a kickboxing class, journaling, going for walks. There are several things that you could be doing that help you process the emotions that you are feeling. My suggestion would be to pick something that also simultaneously improves your health, right? So if you pick journaling, that is simultaneously improving your mental health. It's making you better at understanding yourself while you are processing your emotions. Similarly, if you can go for walks to process your emotions, that helps you move while you are processing, and that movement also releases endorphins, which makes you feel better in general about life. You could also pick a hobby. The bottom line is to find a healthy way to release your feelings, because bottling them up is only making things harder. In fact, there was a research conducted that showed two sets of individuals, one who bottled their emotions inside and others who actually spoke out about them. And the results found that the person expressing the emotions was ultimately able to deal with severe situations much better and much faster than someone who was just bottling everything inside. Now, while you are going through this process of feeling your feelings, when you're feeling like crying, cry. When you're feeling like getting angry or frustrated, get angry and frustrated. Just find a better outlet for it. When you're going through all of this stuff, just remember that you don't have to force yourself to forgive that person. You are not doing this as a performance. You are not processing your feelings to get a reaction out of somebody. You are doing this for your own self. A lot of the times in relationships, when you get your heart broken, even in friendships, there's this pressure to forgive the other person, because क्या पता उसकी ज़िंदगी में क्या चल रहा हो सकता है मुझे कुछ नहीं पता जो मतलब उसके साथ हो रहा है, and I don't know, and that is why hold that grudge against them, right? And so many people will tell you that you need to forget and forgive in order to move on. But the more you try to do that, the more you are actually pushing your real feelings down, and then the stronger they will come out in some other way, and that's not what you want. If somebody is toxic to you and you forgive and forget each time an abuse or a gaslight happens, imagine the damage that you're causing to yourself in the end. Forgiveness takes time. You might not even have to forgive somebody your entire life, but that does not mean that they have to occupy your mental space. Don't try and force forgiveness. Don't try and force yourself to forget either. Just try and focus on processing your emotions and filling your own cup, and you will get there eventually. And just like you will not force yourself to forgive or forget, you should not force yourself to numb your pain, right? A lot of people, when they go through heartbreak, their coping mechanism is just numbing the pain, right? They will do alcohol, probably drugs, and that gives you temporary relief from the overwhelming sense of emotions that you are feeling, and you try to distract yourself. But that is also a form of suppression, right? When you numb those painful moments, you're not actually processing what happened with you. You are just putting a carpet on top of things. And if you don't have that thing, that source to numb you anymore, you are going to feel them with even more force. Which is why, like, all the points that I'm talking about in today's video help you avoid things like that. You don't want to repress. You want to process. You don't want to keep things locked up. You want to let them out, but in a healthy way. Often, even in therapy, the first thing that a therapist usually does, especially when you're trying to process your feelings and your emotions, is make you relive that experience, because feeling that pain is a part of healing from it, right? Take things slow. Don't rush into new relationships. Don't showcase or try and pretend like stuff is different on social media. There are various reasons for doing it. I wouldn't recommend it. Sometimes our ego gets the better of us, and we do. Like, we've all been there, where we try and project a self out on social media, where we want to make our ex or that friend who has gone away feel jealous because, we are thriving in life. But all of this showmanship is a lot of extra effort that isn't really aiding anything in your life. Right? You can do it if you want to. Sometimes it's fun to be petty as well. I wouldn't recommend it, but I understand why people do it, why you go through this motion of showing a certain self or a certain image of yourself, because that makes you feel better about yourself. In the end, is it aiding your healing journey? Is it aiding your growth? Not really. But is it harming it? Not really. So take your call. If you do have the time, resources, means, go ahead. But if it is taking time away from your actual healing, I wouldn't recommend it. And finally, as a part of your processing stage, give yourself the closure you need, right? For the longest time, I used to think that closure comes from having that one last talk with this person, or asking them for why this has happened, or just questioning the universe as to why this has happened with me, right? But most times in life, this kind of closure you don't end up getting. Relationships end, friendships break up, people leave your life, and a lot of the times you will not know why. Which is why there's a lot that you can actually do to come to terms with the loss of something by yourself. You can give yourself that closure. And often that closure is just accepting the fact that that relationship has ended. If you have a growth oriented mindset, or if you build a growth oriented mindset where you look at the end of a relationship as the start of something new, something better in your life, that is often the only closure that you end up needing, because you are looking forward towards your future and you're not dwelling on the past as much. Your brain automatically starts to see what is ahead of you rather than just continue to dwell on things that have not worked out. Again, if you are still struggling a lot with finding closure, one thing you can do is write a letter to yourself talking about the relationship. And when you write it down, you're actually processing a lot of the emotions that you might be feeling. And when you put them out on paper, you find your own ending. You create your own ending, and that helps you move forward on your own terms. Another thing you can do is turn to spirituality. I've found that when you put your faith in something other than yourself, a higher power, let's say, it actually gives you a lot of comfort. It gives you a better perspective to process a heartbreak. It reminds you that life is about growth, and the people come into our lives for a reason, and every person in our life is there for a limited time. That limited time could be a year, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, but that time is still limited, right? And if something is happening right now, it's putting us on the path that we are meant to be on. In fact, if you read any spiritual book out there, you will find that all of them emphasize on the importance of endings, of things coming to an end, because we all go through this cycle, and just like there's a beginning of the cycle, there is an end for it too. This small mindset shift can actually help you detach emotionally, and it might work if you're seeking a deeper sense of peace. And this in no way means that it no longer hurts, but it means that you can ease those feelings of pain, that pain is not the only emotion surrounding you, right? It reminds you that this is not how things are always going to be, that pain is not permanent, right? It's a cycle. So if you're going through something like this right now, things are also bound to get better. Healing is the final phase of your journey of getting out of heartbreak. You piece your life together at this stage. You start living your life as a whole person once again, right? So in this phase, when you have been able to process your emotions, when you have been able to fill some of that emotional energy cup back, start to put yourself out there. Start taking risks in love and in friendship again, right? For most people, after breakups, it is so scary for them to feel like they'll ever be able to love again, right? You are scared of the fact that you'll never find love again, and that's a part of the reason why heartbreaks hurt so much. But if you truly want to heal, you have to take that leap of faith again, right? It's not only important for your growth, but it's also the risk that you take to figure out if this is the life path for you. Right? You cannot let the end of one relationship stop you from experiencing new ones. But putting yourself out there does not mean rushing into it once again. That, a week ago you had a breakup and then 2 weeks later you are with a new person. That's not processing. That's numbing your pain by just replacing a void with another thing, right? But after you've processed your loss and you start to put yourself out there, it becomes about being open to new possibilities, new experiences, new love. In the meantime, take care of your physical and your mental health. Your body and your mind are connected, and when you take care of your physical health, it helps your emotional health as well. When you start focusing more on exercising, eating well, automatically it makes you feel better, it makes you feel stronger. There's endorphin release that aids these processing of emotions, and that really helps your journey in the long run. Another thing you want to do is basically rid your environment of the ties that are holding you to that past relationship, right? A great way to do this is to actually look at the experiences that you had with this person, the places that you went to, maybe the activities you experienced, and go experience them again, but without the attachment of this person. Give new meaning to these places, these experiences. Do it by yourself, maybe do it with a friend. If you have a new partner, do it with your new partner, so that you are rewriting those memories and they're not just associated with heartbreak. Simultaneously, clear out things that tie you to this person, right? Any souvenirs they may have given you, any old mementos, memoirs, give them away, donate them. Like, I'm huge on that because I feel like objects also hold energy, and if you are keeping something with you, that energy stays stuck in that place, as opposed to if you give it away, if you donate it, if you give it to somebody who is more in need of it, that energy moves forward. There's a flow of energy that's created, and that creates space in your life for positive energy to flow in. And finally, and we've already talked about this, accept that this was not the path for you, that it wasn't meant to be, and that better things are waiting for you. This is as much of an energy shift as it is a mindset shift. It helps reduce stress, but it also gives you hope. And hope can bring about healing in ways more powerful than anything else, because it gives you more zeal, more enthusiasm to take control of your narrative. It allows you to move forward. So that was a pretty long video on how to deal with heartbreak, how to heal your broken heart. But I do hope that the pointers that I shared help you process things in a better, in a healthier way. And just before I let you go, I have a few quick things that you guys can actually do, actionable things that you guys can do. Think of it as homework, although I didn't want to give homework on this video, but it's more like a way to just speed things up. So do these few things and it makes dealing with this a little bit easier, right? So one is making a separation playlist, right? So this is like this concrete thing that you do, and when you play it over and over again, it just cements that idea in your head that this is over. Two is to prime your environment to get rid of them. So block their number, remove their items from your house, remove their gifts out of sight, archive your photos, etc. Three, cry if you need to. Obviously, this should not have to be said, but I'm saying it just in case you think that crying is not okay. Let that emotion flow out. Write that letter to your ex and burn it. Very, very helpful, very cathartic, very therapeutic. And finally, do one thing for yourself as a part of your self-love journey. You can do this every day, every week, every month, whatever frequency works for you, but make it a point to do it regularly. Healing from heartbreak, from separation takes time, obviously, right? But if you build healthy coping mechanisms, if you keep reminding yourself that there's something better on the horizon for you, and if you're patient with yourself, with time, with effort, you are going to get through this. I promise you.